Hello everybody, this is a video tutorial about Agileto software tool, more specifically about the module M1.2 regarding how to generate in Google Earth and MapInfo mobile network objects, especially the sites and the cells for the technologies 2G, 3G and 4G. So let's start. We launch Agileto. Okay, then we need to start. Initially it is supposed that we have already generated the Agileto reference database. We are going to use a demo project that is specified here, which is stored under the C Agileto path. So in your case you may use your own project. From here you may want to generate initially another project, then you need to pass through this stage, generate and update Agileto reference database, and once you finish this you can generate the MapInfo and Google Earth cells and sites object for all the technologies 2G, 3G and 4G. Please notice that this is available only for Pro Edition. I mean 4G are not going to be displayed for the Gold Edition. This is one of the difference between Gold Edition and Pro Edition. So before going forward to generate this, I would like to show you a bit the structure of the database, because up to the structure it will be the different options that we can use when we generate the MapInfo and Google Earth objects. So let's have a look on the Agileto database for the demo project. We are going just to use this, and here we have an Excel file with 3 sheets, each one corresponding to 2G, 3G and 4G. For example, if we look to the structure of the 2G, we can see that each cell, 2G cell, it's unique identified by the two parameters for the same mobile operator, which are the cell ID and the LAC. These two parameters are going to unique identify a cell into the network. And then there is a definition about the latitude and longitude, the azimuth, site ID, cell name, and after that the BCC age, NCC, BCC. Of course the BCC, that is a combination between NCC and BCC. This is optionally. The cluster, antenna type, beam width, antenna height, electrical tilt, mechanical tilt. And what I want to emphasize is a field that is calling cell existing into OMC snapshot. Yeah? This field is going to be updated, like it is saying here, anytime when we are going to use an export from OMC 2G network. So for the moment you can see here there is data field with 1, means it is existing in OMC snapshot, and it's empty for those cases, for those cells, for example, yes, these cells which apparently are not yet present into the OMC snapshot. This is a good option if we want to make the difference between the planning of a network, I mean what is supposed to be roll out and develop in time, and what is actually on air. So this is a switch which make the difference between all the cells, all the sites which are on air, and the others, for example like this, which are not yet on air. And we can see this column it's a common column that you can see over all the technologies. For the 3G, for example, it is going to be again at the end. And we have some fields where we have data field this with 1, means it's already existing into the OMC snapshot, and some others where there is nothing, means it is not existing into the OMC snapshot. Of course, these parameters are not going to be used by hand manually. This is supposed to be updated automatically once you have run in advance one of the options which Agileto provides in order to use an external OMC snapshot. This is something that can be done, for example, by the module 1. Okay, for example, when you want to generate, for example, Agileto reference database, you can use here, for example, you can put browse to a specific XML or TXT file up to the vendor. For example, sometimes if you want to use vendor Huawei, it's going to be in TXT format. If you want to use another vendor, for example Nokia or Ericsson, is going to be XML format. So up to the type of the vendor and technology, of course, Agileto will recognize automatically which kind of vendor and which technology it is, and will transform the OMC snapshot into Agileto database. But let's come back now to what we discussed here and return, for example, now let's browse a bit what is for the 3G technology, which are the fields that are interesting to be. So we have again information about the antenna height, electrical tilt, beam width, and so on. So another thing is important which I want to present, for example, coming back here for the beam width and for the representation, doesn't matter which is a specific beam width of the antenna, for example 65 degree or 80 degree, it will be represented quite the same in the cell. But if you put here a value of 360 degree, means omnidirectional antenna, yes, in this case it will be displayed like a circle in both MapInfo and Google Earth. So take care about this information. If you want to see the omnidirectional antenna, you need to data fill here properly with 360 degree the beam width of the antenna. Okay, so more or less this is something that we already browse on 2G. Now let's come back to the 3G. So we have cluster, we have the LAC, and this is something that is important to remember, because these options, for example the LAC, the RNC, are going to be used as option how you want to group the sites or the cells in 3G. And you have the primary scrambling code, the node B, the cell name, sector ID, azimuth, latitude, longitude, frequency layer. And about the frequency layer, there is here there is let's say you can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 7. So there is a translation between the uplink and downlink URFCN, means UMTS, absolute radio frequency number. So these are standards, and here, for example, we have if we already use a snapshot, the translation between the frequency layers 1, 2, 3 correspond to the first 3 frequency layers in 2 GHz band, and 7, 8, 9 and so on, if it exists, is going to be presented here. Starting with 7, it's going to be represented the frequency layer in 900 MHz band. So here, in case that we already use a snapshot, here we have the downlink UMTS absolute radio frequency channel numbers. For example, F1 is 10,712. F2, the next one, 10,737. F3, 10,762. And for F7, that we can see in the frequency layer, it is going to be the one that is below, in the below line. So in the first line are all the frequency layers from 2 GHz band. On the second line are those that are in 900 MHz band. The downlink URFCN numbers. So, okay, this is 3G, and let's go back now. Let's start with the 4G. 4G is going to be used with, let's say, what is called by Agileto Global Cell ID. And this number, it's a unique number over all the network, 4G network, LTE network. And it's going to be a concatenation between the A node B ID and the relative ID, cell ID, to the specific node B. For example, if you want to look a bit closer, this is the same A node B ID 1001, and we have relative cell ID 123. And in this case, the concatenation becomes 10,011, 10,012, and 10,013. This is going to be the unique global cell ID of the cell. Okay, so we have the same connotation with the layers, and as we have for the 3G, we have two layers here, and the layers are going to be presented here in case that we already run it in advance, OMC 4G snapshot, and load in Agileto. And here, as you can see, there is one single line, and in ascending order there are the frequencies that are going to be used. I mean, downlink evolve absolute radio frequency channel numbers. In this case, for example, for this demo, it is supposed that we already run in advance the OMC snapshot and the 4G snapshot, and we discover this frequency like 1900 and 3350. So we continue with the the structure of the database. We have the columns latitude, longitude, latitude, azimuth, the same practically the common things: cell ID, evolve cell ID, node B, a node B name, PCI, the specific indicator related to the 4G. Here we have the area code, yes, and this is something that is making the difference between the cells which are going to be located in a specific location area. It's something similar used for the, let's say, RF engineers with the location area code used, for example, in 2G or 3G. We have as well the cluster, the definition of the cluster, which cluster it is belonging to. It is not mandatory. If you look here, okay, another thing that I want to precise: what is going to be presented in background with green, it's mandatory for the representation, yeah, of the cells. What is going to be with blue, like frequency layer, cell name, cell ID, and node B ID, these are going to be information that will be updated every time when we use an input for Agileto as OMC snapshot. And this is something like a general rule overall. And what is going to be with yellow, this is something that is going to be optional, is not mandatory, but it is useful to be used, for example, for different optimization purposes. Yeah, so we have the cluster, antenna type, beam width, again we see here the 360 degree. These are going to be represented in circles. We will see a bit later. And the same, there is a column that is named cell existing into OMC snapshot. So all the cells that which have been already detected into the specific OMC snapshot used as input for Agileto, they will be automatically data filled with 1 here. Those which are not present into the OMC snapshot will be empty here. So we use just for our example this configuration, and we will run few examples to see what's the difference. We have we have here, for example, other columns like inside OMC 2G 3G, mismatch OMC 2G 3G. So every time, for example, the same is going to be used here at the end of each database. So in the cells of 3G can be inside of an OMC of type 2G or 4G, means these specific 3G cells, for example, have been detected inside of OMC 4G, but they are not the purpose of the 4G network. They are used, let's say, like external declaration in another technology used for doing handover and so on. So these fields are going to be data filled every time when we run an OMC 2G, 3G, 4G. It will compare and match and look if a cell is declared in another technology, and of course if there is a mismatch between this declaration and the one that is in the own technology. So this is something that we will speak a bit later in a dedicated tutorial. For now, this is what I wanted to start and to show you. And let's come back and return to the generation of the cells and the sites in MapInfo and Google Earth. So let's continue with this option, module 1.2. And we have just to push OK, where that means Agileto database will be translated in MapInfo and Google Earth for all technologies 2G, 3G, 4G for sites and cells objects. Here we have different options for each technology, for example 4G network, 3G network, 2G network. And what we can see as an option, I mean the color of the sites, for example for the 4G, can be selected to be the same by the same, for example, tracking area code, tracking area, what we have seen before, or by the cluster like we defined before in the 4G technology. So this is these are the main two options like we can use. By contrary, for the 3G technology, we have, for example, different other options. We have by RNC name, by RNC, by 3G LAC, or by the 3G cluster name. So up to your own preferences, you can choose and select from here which one you want. And for the 2G, you can as well select different options by BSC name, 2G LAC or 2G cluster. Commonly, by default, it's like this, and there are different options. For example, if you want to use all the cells declaration into the database, you use this option. But if you want to use, for example, this option, it is warning saying this option is applicable only if you already run in advance, let's say the module 1.1, the one that is going to generate the Agileto database by using OMC snapshot file, what I have already told you in advance. Or for example, another module, the module M21, related to an audit and sanity check about the network. If you didn't run in advance at least one of these options, it's saying that the results, output results will be probably erroneous. So make sure you already run in advance this if you want to select this option. And under this case, we can use correlated with this option. So for all the cells 4G not detected into OMC will be colored as the same like all the others 4G cells. So there is no difference between those which are declared into the OMC file and those which are not declared. By contrary, here if you select this option, the cells which are not detected into OMC will be colored in gray. So if we select this, means we will make a difference into the representation, meaning that those ones which do not belong to the real network will be colored in gray, means they do not belong to the OMC. Okay, so let's take for example initially like it is by default. Here it's a radius. It's very important. This is a common figure that is going to be used many times in many modules. So this is the radius of the first layer of the 3G technology, because based on this radius will be represented the other frequency layers from the 3G technology, as well the 2G technology, all the layers, and the 4G technology, all the layers. There is a correspondence and the proportion automatically performed by Agileto, but the reference is the radius of the 3G F1 layer. So that's why we need to keep in mind which is the one that we have selected for this layer. And in our case, let's take for example 250 meters, that means 0.25 kilometers. And here we will keep it like this. If you want for example not to do the special because you want to see in another way, you can play with this, but I recommend you always use special. And here you can play with for example the way how the network is going to be displayed for the sites. Automatically the sites are presenting the name automatically, but if you want to hide the name of the sites because it would be like a push pin things in Google, you can hide them and you just click on it and then you will see the name. This is suitable when you have a very large network, and if you present the name of the sites will be very difficult to understand. So let's unselect hide and keep the sites label to be view by default. And here you can leave it like this, like they are. But if you feel that are not comfortable for your representation, you can play with this number. I mean the size of the icon for the sites and the size of the text which represent the name of the sites. So you can play with them and see which are different results. By default these numbers are quite enough for most of the users. So let's go forward and see what's happened. Okay, we are waiting to pass through all the stages Agileto is going to use and to finish, and we see here for example the outputs are going to be provided in for two tools. One is MapInfo and another one is Google Earth. So we can see for example for the demo project there is a MapInfo subfolder under demo project, and here we have the mobile network workspace file, and similarly we have a Google Earth subdirectory under the project, that our project which is the demo project, and here there is a mobile network KMZ file. So only by using this two specific file for each tool, MapInfo or Google Earth, you will see that all the networks with 2G, 3G, 4G and all the frequency layer for each technology will be displayed properly. You don't need to open each one separately, because in fact Agileto did it for each one separately, but these two files already aggregate all of them together. So we are going to use quickly the module 1.4 to visualize them. So let's do a quick looking on the network. So this is something that we want to use, the view mobile network 2G, 3G and 4G. We minimize Agileto, and here by default Google is going to redirect you exactly on the area or on the place where the demo project was established. So we see here by default the 3G sites which are active. The rest are inactive, so you need to activate them in order to see them. For example, if we want to see for example the F1 layer, F1 layer, it is like this for the 3G technology, and we can see here these numbers in red, which represent practically the scrambling code, primary scrambling codes. If you deselect from here, you don't see them. If you want to add on the screen, you just add it. And here are the cells. Practically we make disappear the cell and appear the cell. This is a way how we can visualize or not different objects. And the same is for other layer. For example, F2, what is in green. If we want to deselect, for example, the scrambling code, yes, we just use this. The same is for F3. So if we want to do the F3 layer, we have only these two sites with the F3 layer. And for example, for the 900 megahertz, so corresponding to F7 layer, if we want to use, is this one. So we can even click on the cell and we can see all the information, the cell code, scrambling code, URFCN, local cell ID, sector ID, and so on. All the details, RNC ID, cell ID, RNC name, LAC, everything is just by clicking a button and see all the information about a specific cell. Okay, so this is, for example, Agileto F3 demo 1. Demo 1 means the first site, and Z meaning the third cell. By contrary, this is X, the first cell, the sector ID. This is Y, and the other one was Z. So this is something for the 3G. Okay, let's deselect everything and let's go to 4G. For example, the 4G, if we want to put all of them, we see here everything. For example, what is in purple, it's F1. One more thing, if you want, for example, here, if you drill down the cells, here is a summary about what was done today, just before, where is mentioned the cell reference radius 3G F1 to be 250 meters, and after that all the other technology are presented below. And if we want to drill down here, for example, the cells of 4G, this is something that for all technologies are available. We can see the cells one by one. If we click here, it's going to be represented in correspondence here. If we are going to click next, it's going to go next, and so on and so on. Yeah. Yeah. So Agileto 4G demo 2Y. This is the cell which corresponds. For example, it's very simple, and this is a way how you can see them. What you can see here, for example, it's 10,000 and 10,001 are the different tracking area, and the different tracking area, in our case, we have selected, for example, the sites to keep the same color for the same tracking area. So if we look, for example, for these sites, this is something to look at. Tracking area 10,000. So all the sites with the tracking area 10,000 will be colored in red. So we see here the same. Yeah. We see here. By contrary, this one should be different, for example. Yes, and this is tracking area code 10,001. So the same should be this one because it has the same color green, and so on. Of course, obviously, when you have a large network, it will be very good to have different tracking area with different colors for different sites. Okay, so this is something that we can see now for the 4G. And for the 2G, if we deselect now the 4G, we represent initially the sites. We see the sites, and here the color correspond of the sites to the location area. For example, here we see location area code 318. The same should be with this one, 318, yeah. And the same should be here because all of them have the same color. By contrary, this should be different. This is 317. The same this one, okay, the same color, 317. And this one should be the same. The same is this one, 317. But this one as well is another color, red, means has a different location area code, 10,000 or 1020. The same is this one, you see, and the same is this one. So the color of the site is selected based on different parameters that we just selected before when we generate the network. Okay? And now if we look and go back, under the 2G technology there are only two layers. One is called GSM 900, is this one, and another one is DCS 1800, this one. And each one is going to present all the cells, like we will see here, all the cells which are under the technology, the same technology, GSM 900. And if we come here to see, these are going to be those cells which are under DCS 1800. Okay, we can just use, for example, unselect everything that is under GSM 900, the first layer of 2G, and present only those cells which are, for example, under location area 1020. So these are the cells that are going to be used from the GSM 900 layer. The same is going to be now, for example, for another location area. This is 317, yeah, and another one if we want for 318. So this is more or less everything to see what's the difference between. If we want, for example, to have a complete overview, it will be very loaded, the image. We put all of them and we see all the information together. Obviously it's not very clear, and what I would advise take out the PCI or the index of the BCCH or the primary screening code from all the layers excepting only one, just to keep the image a bit more clear. And in this case we will see something more reasonable in order to investigate, for example. Okay, so this for the 2G we don't need to do anything more. And yeah, we can see, for example, at the moment a very interesting image about the cells. For example, this is a 4G technology, this is a 2G technology, this is the first layer of 3G, this is the second layer, this is the third layer. And if we want, we can see this is 15 from here. It's the BCCH that is going to be represented. No, this is a 4G technology, this is a PCI, excuse me, this is a PCI of this cell 15 for the 4G technology, which is represented in purple. In blue, by contrary, 44 belongs to a 2G cells. So if we look here, this is a BCCH of 44, yeah, it's very easy to see. And 106 is the primary scrambling code of the 3G technology. So it's very easy to see all of this. So now this is how looks the networks at the moment. But if we want to do, for example, something different, let's suppose that we return back now and we want to generate now, for example, the network again. We do the same thing, but we don't want to see all the network. We want to see, for example, those cells which are not going to be detected into OMC will be colored in a different way from the other cells. So let's keep practically the same. Do not forget to keep this at the very specific and reasonable value, otherwise you will have a mess at the end. And keep the same settings like before, but representing with the proper color only those cells which are detected into OMC snapshot file. Yeah, and we will see what's the difference immediately. Okay, it was done quite quickly. And now if we want to load to see what is now the new look of the network, the same network, we will see something like this. For example, for the 2G network, let's have a look. Okay, for the 2G network we see some of the cells are bordered in red, have the borders in red, and middle it's gray, so means these cells are not yet implemented, they are not on air, they do not belong to the OMC. It's very easy to see what's the difference between one and another one. Now this is for 2G, and let's have a look on the 3G now. Okay, so on the 3G it looks like a number of, we can see here, for example, let's have a look only for the first layer. Okay, for the first layer only these cells are on. Okay, we can keep the name of the sites, and these cells again, they are not yet activated, they are not on air. This is according with the settings, with the value of 1 or empty, which I show you at the beginning. So more or less this is for the 3G, and let's have a look for the 4G again. Okay, so 4G we have one cell and we can see these circles. If you remember, I told you about the 360 degree in the beam width. Everything that is like this is going to be represented with a circle. So all of this with red border and gray color inside, they are not supposed to be on air. They do not belong to an OMC yet. They are planned to be, but they are not yet. And this is something that will help us in the future task when we will work different other modules with Agileto. Okay, so more or less this is something that I wanted to present you. If you have any question, do not hesitate to contact us at support@agileto.com. Thank you, and waiting for your feedback. Bye.